of Sports and Songs podcast. We're your hosts, Dan and Andy. We're in season 4, episode number 1. This is the season premiere, Andy, of our 4th year. Doing the podcast.
They said it never lasts. They said it never lasts.
That's what the critics all said. You know, today is November 14th, 2022. A shout out to my dad. It's his birthday today.
Happy birthday, Coach Mike.
Coach Mike, and it ties in with our season premiere here for season 4. We're going to have a special guest on tonight as well. Head coach of Mayer Lutheran's girls basketball program, Chris Gustin, will be on the show here. It's their very first day of practice for the basketball season. Practice started tonight.
Our first repeat guest, too, by the way. He's been on once before.
Yes, and this team, this girls team that he coaches, went to state back-to-back seasons the last 2 years. Won the section, advanced to state. Very good group of girls, very talented group, and we're going to ask him some questions about the upcoming season. But we'll wait till he joins us here. In the meantime, do you want to?
We'll start college instead.
We'll start with some college sports. Go ahead, Andy.
You want to flip my screen on there, sir?
Oh yes.
Get the intern, Kevin
the intern.
He's fired. All right, we'll start the Northern Sun. Big news in the Northern Sun. We'll start with a lot of big things here. First of all, they had their volleyball championships over the weekend. There you are. Congratulations, St. Cloud State Huskies. There you go. They are the champs. Kind of goes through all that stuff. As you see, it was kind of different format this year. No Beavs, but we still follow it. But the Chet, as they call it up in Bemidji State, the home field there. Double dipping this weekend. The grounds crew is making their money this weekend. The women's soccer, NCAA third and quarterfinal rounds.
Hello,
plus
Chris.
The men.
Chris is here. We got Chris. Hey, how's it going, Coach?
It's going well. How are you guys?
There he is.
Very good. Very good.
I can hear you.
Welcome to the show. And we just got started about 2 minutes ago. We started going over a little college sports. We knew you'd be jumping in here after the girls' first practice of the season. And so we went ahead and got started. But thanks for joining us here. Here we go. Let's go this. Let's try this here. Here we go.
Must have been a good practice. They didn't have to run laps afterwards, so you're on time.
Well, our volleyball team just finished their season on Saturday, so right. About 9 of them were taking a few days off. So we only had 8 girls tonight.
Well, that's kind of like us. We'll cover it later. But for Watertown for football, they had to delay the play because we got, I think, like 7 players that were in the play also, but they got to play football next weekend.
Oh, wow.
They're delaying that.
Well, those are good.
All the joys of inactivities direct.
I tell you what, as an AD, those are good problems to have.
Yes.
Those are good problems to have as an AD.
Andy,
what we can do here is what we're going to do is coach. Well, yeah, a few things we'll do is we were going to start college, but we'll just backtrack here. We'll go straight into the – pardon me while I backtrack here. We'll start some high school basketball. Chris, just kind of get your opinions on some of this stuff. First, as we saw, Tessa Johnson from St. Michael, Albertville, signed with South Carolina, top senior there. I guess my question to Chris on stuff like this, are you guys notified when scouts or recruiters come in, or do you just notice them in the crowd as much as the next guy?
I think a lot of the recruitment, especially in basketball, comes during the AAU season, and I think there's a lot of contact with AAU coaches. I have had coaches reach out. A lot of times it's just to talk or to let me know that they're going to be at a game or something, and they just want to connect after the game. A lot of that recruiting is done through recruiting profiles and through the AAU programs, not a whole lot through the high school season.
Okay, cool. Also, they were gonna. This was from December 2nd. I saw they're gonna put a 35-second shot clock in for boys and girls basketball, is approved by the Minnesota State High School League. But the late conference is going to start this year. Late conference is starting this year as opposed to 2 years from now. Is that something you're kind of working in now and practice a little bit to get used to?
So the state high school league said that if a conference wants to adopt it for this coming year, then all conference games need to be played. I think most conferences are not doing that. We've actually played a few shot clock games in the past. If gyms were equipped with them and you had an operator and both teams agreed, any non-conference game in the past several years could have used it. So we've used it at Eden Valley Watkins for our Christmas tournament a couple of times. I think we got some installed in anticipation for next year, or really in preparation for next year. I think at some point this season, we might use it with some non-conference games. At some point, we'll probably start using it at practice just to get the girls used to it. The few games that I've had really as a coach, to me, where the shot clock's going to be helpful is at the end of games where it's close. You're not going to have to foul in order to get the ball back. You're going to be able to play good defense for 35 seconds. So if you're down 8 with 5 minutes to go, you've got an opportunity to climb back into games. Whereas, if you've got a good team with a really good ball handler, down 8 with 5 minutes to go is a death sentence. So right. I think that's where we're really going to see the impact. Our style is really to play fast, so I don't think we'll have a lot of possessions, but I think it is going to be strategic. You might see a few more zone presses where coaches will try to deliberately slow you down in the backcourt, maybe take 7-8 seconds to get the ball across half court. Now you've only got 25 seconds or 28 seconds to prepare an offense. So I think there's some strategic things that coaches are going to be able to do, and it'll be kind of fun to see it happen.
Now, they have the continuous clock when you have a big lead. Are they going to shut off the shot clock then if you got a 20-point
interestingly,
lead?
I was watching my basketball rules meeting prior to this, and for this year anyway, the shot clock will continue to be used throughout the entire game, even in mercy rule situations. That could change next year when everybody adopts it, but for this year, they're leaving it on.
So late conference will probably practice and screw with that. And
yeah, my guess is they'll probably be using that all day at practice. So,
all right. Right now, Dan, if you want to put up my share screen, looking at last year's final rankings for Class A for basketball. You guys finished 4th in the rankings there. Mountain Iron was 1. And I remember looking at last year, Mountain Iron, they had their 3 losses, but it seemed like it was every time they came down to play the big city schools, they were losing those games. They were winning at home by 50, 60 points all the time. They was dominating. Do you find that hard when you got the smaller schools up north where they don't really have the competition? How hard is it to prepare for someone like that where you see they're crushing everybody by 50, but when they play someone in the cities, they're losing or closer games? Is that hard to prepare for?
Not really with Mount Iron. I mean, they make a lot of trips. First of all, their coach is an unbelievable guy. He's a super knowledgeable, puts a lot of time and effort into their program. He's certifiably nuts, though. They make about 10 trips down between the cities, St. Cloud. I mean, they're traveling all the time. 2 years ago, they came to our place and played on a Monday, and it's about a 4-hour drive. Came down, played a game, went back home on Monday night, went to school the next day. And really, the sheer craziness is the guy is the head coach of both the girls and the boys. And I don't know how he does it. A lot of practices in the morning, game nights, and back-to-back practices after school, juggling the schedule. But going back to your question about scouting Mount Iron, really, they come down here because the competition up there isn't quite what they want and what they need. And so a lot of times, I'll get an opportunity to see them in person once or twice a year. And again, with the advent of live streaming and film, there's film all over the place. So they're a solid program, and they're really not all that hard to scout for. Just hope they don't get hot from 3-point land.
I do not want to be on their booster committee with all that funds to come down to the cities all the time.
Right, exactly.
That's going to be a tough one. Looking at it now, look at the standings there, rankings. You guys third last year, consolation game.
Thanks.
Congratulations. You made it the year before. So it's kind of the Final Four is kind of becoming the Mayor Lutheran Invitational there. We're looking at the Final Four. Mountain Iron, I assume, has a good team coming back. What about Hayfield and Hancock? They were 2 and 3 last year in the ranking.
Yeah.
They bringing back a lot of the same players?
Both of them are going to be really good again. Hayfield's 2 best players were sophomores. And they obviously gained a lot of experience. They actually didn't lose until the state semifinals to Minnesota and then to us in the 3rd place game. So only 2 losses of the season. And they returned those 2 core players. They're going to be tough again. It actually was a really good matchup for us last year. Hancock, on the other hand, was not a good matchup for us, and they put a whooping on us. I've never seen a girls' team, maybe even a boys' team, shoot 67% from 3-point land, and those Hancock girls did it in the barn in that cavernous arena. And they graduated 3 girls off that team, but they started 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores. So they're going to be really good again. They have a new coach this year, but my understanding is that coach has been at the school for a while and has a pretty good relationship with the girls. I think he coached some of them in AAU, so should be a pretty seamless transition. Those are going to be probably the 3 toughest teams across the state. And then, we're hoping that us and Buffalo Lake Hector Stewart, who's another good team in our section, will be right there at the end too. So.
All right. We're going to have you flip on your AD hat now and cover some more high school stuff here. Girls volleyball. We're going to kind of go through the sections here one by one. Wayzata over Lakeville North for the 4A championship there. 3A. Marshall is your champion with the win over Benilde St. Margaret. 2A. Cannon Falls over Pequot. And then, of course, you guys take second place behind Minnesota. Now, with volleyball and all the other sports, except football, everybody's ranked going into the playoffs. We heard it with football last year from some people and football this year for some people.
Yep.
Why don't they rank them in football for the playoffs, except for 6A?
That is a great question. I think part of it is just the chance of geography. When you get your first round quarterfinal games are going to be at a neutral site somewhere, got to have turf. And if you get a situation where you've got a number 1 seed who's way in the north and and those part of it is that scheduling piece, right? Those sites have to be booked several months, if not a year in advance. So, if you get your sites and if you go by region or by section, you can kind of predetermine where those sites are going to be and match those up as best you can. If you end up getting a Cook County or a Duluth school who ends up playing Pipestone, where the heck do they play? That's the hard part. When you bring basketball all to one location, when you bring volleyball all to one location, it's a lot easier. Now, the argument is they do it in soccer, so why couldn't they do it in football? Football is also a lot more locations. You've got 6 classes plus 9-man. So I'm guessing that's part of it. But it's a great question. And I know certainly, people will continue to clamor for seeding in football because they want to see the 2 best teams at the end.
With football, obviously, the NFL has a little more money than Minnesota State High School League this year to get the U.S. Bank Stadium for that weekend.
Yeah.
Do you think this might be maybe a normal thing after this? If we have this week off and teams and people are okay with it and they still get a good draw that next weekend, will they keep it up, or do they want to keep that Thanksgiving weekend tradition for the Prep Bowl?
I think they're going to want to keep that Thanksgiving tradition. You also, you've got – anytime you have a team playing in the state championship game in football on the traditional weekend of Thanksgiving, you're going to have conflicts with basketball because basketball's already begun. You push that out another week, you've got, 12 schools that basically are forfeiting or could be potentially forfeiting not games, but sacrificing 3 weeks of practice, and that's hard, especially at smaller schools. And I think they're going to like that traditional Thanksgiving weekend because of no school. People are on vacation, and I'm guessing that the crowds are probably going to be better. But who knows? Maybe it's something they look at, and maybe it's something that we're going to do in the future, depending on how that Viking schedule plays out.
All right, and we'll kind of go through the state matchups here. 9-man, we got Wheaton Herman against Mountain Iron on the left side of the bracket, and Spring Grove and Fertile Beltrami on the other side. They will be playing the 17th, and then their championship game will be December 3rd. 1A, we had Springfield and Deer River, and then Fillmore and Minneota on the other side. 19th for their semifinals, and the 2nd for their championship games. 2A, we got Jackson County and Barnesville on the left side of the bracket. Chatfield and Eden Valley, as I look at the screen on the right side. Now we get a little close to home here. Fairmont and Dilworth on the left side. New London Spicer and Watertown Mayor. We will be there as a show representing our own section. Literally because we could sit in our own section. There's not many people there. Well, we will have our own section. But that looks like a good game. The thing, and I've said this before, Chris, and this is no rip on the players anywhere else to go. The thing that's helping Watertown this year is we have a kicker. In high school, I think having a field goal kicker is so important. And having a decent one this year, having a good senior quarterback is helping us a lot. A team that's been together. A team that 4 or 5 years ago, they almost folded. And now they're still playing, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is quite the story, isn't it? I think they went no wins for 2 years in a row, and there was talk. I think one season they did not have a lower level team, varsity only, and there was talk about that program perhaps even disbanding. And ultimately, they got a new coach in, and obviously he's done great things there. And part of it is, you can see this in smaller schools a lot. When you got a group of young kids who have to start playing early, a lot of times they take their lumps for a year or two. But boy, when they get to be juniors and seniors, they usually succeed because of that experience.
Well, it's kind of like the pro baseball team where you just say, like the Astros years ago, you just say, we're throwing up our hands, we're bringing up the AAA team, we'll lose 110 games, whatever. And that's kind of what they did there for high school. It kind of worked out for them. Yeah, 4A. We got Simley and Rocori on 4A, and then the other side is Hutchinson and Zimmerman. 5A, Matabidi and Elk River, then Mankato West and Rogers. 6A, it's down to Lakeville South and Maple Grove, Eden Prairie, and Rosemont. There'll be the headline event on the 2nd there at night. So that's how that's going to go. It'll be kind of exciting there. We'll go to college sports, Chris. Maybe get some of your opinions on some of this stuff. I'll kind of repeat what we started with. Volleyball championships again. Northern Sun, there's a championship bracket. We covered that already. Now the chat up there in Bemidji, they got a double dip this weekend. We'll start with football. The Beavs, the 4 seed, back-to-back Northern Conference champions. 101st year. Last year's the first time they've even won the division. Now they're back-to-back. They'll go against Winona State. And then they got Angelo State, and I did my homework on them, guys. Here we go. Angelo State was 11-0. They're the Rams, by the way. So it'd be Rams and Beavers maybe in that round. That'd be kind of interesting. They're in Angelo, Texas, and when I looked them up for other like historical famous people, nothing. They just said, we've had players go pro, but they never name dropped anybody. So, but that should be a good matchup there. Beavs are 4. Colorado School of Mines is the number 2 seed in that bracket. And that's a team that knocked them out last year. So we want Colorado School of Mines back. We want our revenge. The Beavers want the revenge. And the soccer, the Division II women playing in the snow. That's one thing that blows me away, soccer in the snow. I can't figure that out. Now that's what the big bracket looks like for Division II soccer. You think men's basketball bracket's ugly. Holy cow. There's the Beaver section. They're in the Central up there. They'll go against Minnesota State on the 13th. And then they'll move on. They play the winner for the Midwest bracket down below. It's a little more blown up bracket, more recent. Emperor State won 1-0, the 4 seed. So we got the 2 seed and the 4 seed going for the Central title in that bracket there. And there it is. It'll be 3 o'clock on Friday up at the Chet. Beaver basketball. Couple good wins there in Duluth at the tournament. I saw that game, the Southern Arkansas game. I was watching that on the NSIC network there. Very good, nice come from behind victory for the boys. Pulled it away. And they got Concordia St. Paul. And then they got the BSU Classic later this week. The gals had a nice win with Valley State. And then they got Maysville and Crookston coming up, starting the season on Tuesday, the 22nd. Beaver hockey split with Northern Michigan. They got a week off, and they'll go play the Sioux or the Hawks or the whatever they're called now. And the girls had a week off. Then they play Ohio State at Ohio State. More tough competition for the Beaver women hockey team. Missouri Valley football. South Dakota State did end up winning the conference with their win, so they'll be the conference champs with a week to go. No one can catch them. And the Bison will end with the rivals against North Dakota at the Fargo Dome this weekend. And there's the division or the FCS rankings. You see North Dakota State 4, Montana State 3, Sacramento State getting 5 of the first place votes at 10-0, and the Bunnies holding down the top spot. Summit League, NDSU basketball. Tough start for the boys. At Arkansas, at Kansas, 2 nationally ranked teams, top 10. And then they came home against Pacific.
Tough way to start the season, Andy.
Basketball. But get those lumps out of the way. Some nice travel, some nice experience for the kids. And Pacific was a tough one. And at Indiana State, then the host, Crown College, local favorite. The gals actually had a game canceled. A little snow, I guess, up there last weekend in the North Dakota area. But this Thursday, the Gopher ladies are going to be hosting our friends from up north. So that should be a fun one to watch. And here we go. This was the exciting part, Dan. Get ready. This is kind of like a birthday present for your dad. Last Friday, they beat Nebraska.
They did? I did not know that.
In that one, they were up 17-16 going into the last match. Okay. Both teams won 5 matches, but the Bison scored 5 bonus points and only 1 for Nebraska.
Okay. Wow.
So they kind of won it in the last one there. Go to the Bison page. You can read the recap and see the gallery. Probably go to the Big Ten Network and watch it. Very good. And, of course, the Bison Open, they had a couple champs and did well there. Now, with that said, Chris, with the Gophers, like they're playing the other schools like this, do you think that's a good thing for like a Bemidji State or an NDSU to come down and play the Gophers for basketball? Is that early in the season? Would you rather those be called preseason games, or do you want them to count on the record?
That's a great question. I certainly think it is good for the smaller schools. I always believe that, the more difficult you build your schedule, the better off you're going to be in the long run. It may not always show on the record, but I think it prepares you better than the cupcakes. So I certainly think that it's good for the smaller schools. As far as it counting in the record, I mean, the reality is they're both colleges, and if they choose to play each other, they choose to play each other. So let it count.
Have you ever thought of maybe for your school having the girls play a Waconia, or even going out and playing Minnetonka or Eden Prairie for a game?
Well, my friend, the QRF has done us in as a Class A school. As a Class A school, there are not many schools above above 2A. And there's even some 2A schools that won't play us because of the QRF.
Okay. You can't even just have an inter-squad practice like football does every now and then for the pros. Just
well, that you can have. You can have a couple of. You can have 2 of those each year.
That'd be kind of fun then.
Yeah.
Good experience for the girls and everything else.
Yep.
Yes. Now, because you guys, like, you do play Watertown a couple times. But is that because of a geographic thing? You could all play right here?
We play Watertown in volleyball. We do not play them in basketball anymore. We reach out each year and ask if Watertown wants to play, and they have elected not to play us the last couple of years. But yeah, I mean, that's a great rivalry. It's geographic. It works well. You know, it's been harder and harder for us to find. Volleyball seems to be okay. And I'm sure part of that is that state pedigree. We've had trouble finding games in the area. And so we've had to kind of expand. We play Mount Iron Buell. Went up there last year. They're coming to us again. Last year we picked up Minneota. We're going out there this year. And so, you know, we've kind of had to expand our area of games. Don't play Watertown, don't play Glencoe, don't play Howard Lake, you know, all teams that are within 10, 15 miles. And a lot of it comes down to QRF situation.
All right. That's all I got for our little happy show today, Chris. One last question. How's the fantasy football team doing?
Well, I'm facing Jalen Hurts tonight, and I had a really bad scoring week, so it looks like I'm going to lose. But that'll drop me to 6-4, so not terrible.
All right. You're holding your own.
Then. Yeah. So, and the highest scoring team in the league. So anytime you're losing games, but you're still scoring points, I feel good about that. So,
isn't that the thing in every league though? The top 2 scorers are like 500 in fantasy football.
Yep, it seems like it every year.
It doesn't work out. Well, my friend, I thank you very much for being on. We'll reach out towards the end of the season and see how it's going.
Chris, I got a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
I got a question for you. I forgot to bring this up when you were talking basketball, but is your team now back-to-back state tournament appearances, right? Girls
Correct.
Basketball, very good program they're going. Last year, here's the end of the year, the all-area girls basketball players from the group, and you see not 5 but 6 from Mayer Lutheran. Great problem to have once again when you've got all these players and they all. Can you go through the list here and let us know for the listeners who's coming back, who's graduated, who's left? Get us ready for the season of your guys.
Yeah, sure. Madeline's going to be back on our team. Both Julia and Lily graduated. And I'm assuming, is this from the Herald Journal?
Yes.
Yeah. So Emma Lade was the player of the year, and she graduated as well. You know, she left our school as the all-time leading scorer and the all-time leading assist. Great career. And then Julia and Lily were both 6'1" and 6'2". And you don't see a lot of Class A schools with size like that. So when people ask me, you know, how's your team going to be? You know, I look at them and I say, well, we believe we're going to be good again. We've got Madeline coming back. We've got Danica Martin, who had a really impressive year as a sophomore last year. Stella Moss does a lot of things for us on the floor. We've got a couple of younger girls that we think are going to step up and help us in big ways. But we're going to be different. We lost our all-time leading scorer and 2 6'1" girls. So things are going to be a little bit different. Again, we built our schedule very challenging. We're in a tip-off classic where we play Maranatha, who's in the top 15 in state, and Visitation. And then our first, other than that tip-off classic, our first game on the road is Minnehaha Academy. We got Providence Academy on the schedule again, Minneota, Mount Iron Buell. So, I mean, our non-conference schedule is loaded. And hopefully, you know, by February, that experience will come for those younger girls, and we'll find ourselves in a position to defend those 2 section titles. So,
yeah, it's fun to win the back-to-back region or the sectional. You know, that's a tough group, and I'm sure you got a target on your back for this year. But looking forward to watching the girls play this season. It should be a fun winter season to watch, of course.
Yeah, it should be. I tell you, we won that first one out of Section 4. and then had to go play Sleepy Eye St. Mary's and Madison Mathowitz, who is a heck of a player. And then they reorganized, and we got stuck in her section. And both Bruce, who's the head coach there, and I kind of lamented, man, that's a bummer. But we were able to take care of business last year, and we look forward to defending that title.
And then, advanced farther than high school, too, as you get into college. Monica Sinano did win the Big Ten Player of the Week this week over there in Iowa for the Hawkeyes. And the other sisters at the U of M. So it's a lot to watch, a lot to follow. I don't know if you followed the game Sunday, but we had a little treat yesterday at Williams Arena. Lehigh came into town to play the Lady Gophers, and there's 6 players from Minnesota, D1, playing for Lehigh out in Pennsylvania, including Kaylee Van Epps from Chaska, graduated 2 years ago, and she got to take on Mallory Heyer, who graduated last year from Chaska, going up against the U of M Golden Gophers at Williams Arena. So a fun non-conference preseason game with many Minnesotans at that game yesterday with, 5 on the Lehigh squad, and the University of Minnesota has, I think, 5 or 6 also from Minnesota, including the other Sinano sister. But fun stuff to be able to say you could play at Williams Arena at the barn.
And it was a phenomenal game too, right? Mara Braun hits a 3-pointer on a set play coming out of the timeout to win the game with 1.7 seconds left. Fun stuff.
Yeah, it was 101-99. We put some of the information on our Facebook page today. Lehigh had the lead going in with 0.4 seconds left, and the inbound came in. And Mara Braun, a true freshman, again, as long as similar to Mallory Heyer, drains the 3 to win the game as a buzzer beater. So it's some fun time to watch women's basketball this time of year in the college ranks with all this talent coming out of the high school as well.
Well, I tell you, I got a chance to coach in the All-Star, the Minnesota Girls Basketball Coaches Association All-Star game last year, and there's a lot of talent in our state. It was a lot of fun. A lot of those girls make everything look easy, Mara Braun included.
Yes, it's fun to watch, and with Mallory Heyer from Chaska was the number 11 ranked forward in the nation as far as coming out of the class this year, and she had offers from Wisconsin, Iowa State, Utah, Minnesota, and wanted to play for Lindsay Whalen. She wanted to play in the Big Ten. And it's going to be fun to watch these guys develop. Andy and I cover a lot of Iowa Hawkeyes in D1 on our show with Iowa as far as how good they are. We follow those guys, but fun to watch the Gophers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Monica, I tell you what, Monica has had a great career. It's been fun to see her be successful.
It has been real fun. And, on a side note, because she went to school with my daughter, so watching her just kind of grow up and see that same little kid that she met in 3rd grade doing this is kind of fun in a way.
It is pretty crazy.
All right, thanks. Thanks again, Chris. Our guest today, Chris Gustin, head coach, Mayer Lutheran girls basketball team, back-to-back. They're looking for
men's basketball coach.
KG, you're looking for a 3-peat section championship coming up here in the wintertime. So good luck with everything, and we'll be in touch.
All right, appreciate it. Let me know anytime you need me.
All right.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Andy, we'll stay on for a few minutes here. We'll stay on for a few minutes here and just wrap up the show. We've got Major League Baseball, 40-man rosters. Cut down. Tomorrow night, it's 5 p.m., is it not? The cut down to get down to the 40-man to lock in. And what they'll do is the remaining players of their top prospects that are not protected are going to be eligible for the Rule 5 draft. Also coming up for our followers of XFL football, they have announced the draft will be this week, going on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yes, that's right. Tomorrow starts the draft. It's a 3-day draft. They'll do the picks much like the USFL did. And they start in, I believe it's April. First game's April. They play April, May, and June.
Yeah. It's right after the NCAA tournament.
Pro football, it kicks off then. So these players that are eligible to play in the XFL they cannot have an active contract in the NFL, of course. They can't have an active contract in the USFL. So that's your pool of players. Once again, 8 teams. And so those guys will be picked here this week. I'll provide coverage of that on our Facebook page. Who gets kind of the results of that. Now the Vikings won again, Andy, 7-1. No, 8-1. Vikings are 8-1 with the big game with Dallas coming up, and then we play the Patriots on Thanksgiving. And if you look at the rest of the schedule, they can win potentially all the games, but they're going to win 3 or 4, I think, for sure. So they're going to be sitting good, as far as I know. And I think,
they played
it. And I think that's it. Yeah, so prep football, my final note for the 7 classes for the state of Minnesota, prep football, the state tournament, there's 7 classes, 4 teams left, and we're down to the final 4. So 28 teams. Congratulations to the 28 active teams still playing football this late in the year, coming up on Thanksgiving. You and I will be at the U.S. Bank Stadium for the 4:30 game on Saturday. We've added that on our calendar if you look at our website, upcoming events and such. But stop by, say hi. It should be a good game. Watertown Mayor will take on New London Spicer.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'll probably catch part of the first game before that. Kind of get there, avoid the whole rush, getting in and out and everything else.
And then, like Chris says, the basketball season starts. The practices kicked off today, and soon the football will be over, and we're going to be full-fledged into basketball and wrestling and hockey. Yeah. And hockey. Anything else that you have in sports?
No, that's about it. Just some major league stuff I'm going to have Wednesday. I'll have a little more after we get these 40-man rosters down. Jacob deGrom did say some things I took wrong. So the GOAT is in my doghouse right now.
He is.
Yeah. He's not getting a Christmas card this year, I'll tell you that. At this rate, he ain't getting a Christmas card from me this year.
Well, it's tough sledding.
So I'll have to find out Wednesday. I'll have a little something on Instagram about that.
All right, that sounds good. That's all we got for this week. We'll see you guys next week. And go Vikes, I guess, huh? Go Vikes.
Yeah, see something, yeah. All right.
All right, have a good one. See you.